As late as 1964, Cabral addressed the Committee of the United Nations and said the PAIGC was still willing to negotiate with the Portuguese. But the Portuguese, still under a reactionary fascist regime, was not interested in such negotiations. Now, Cabral's activism and constant movement and separation had its toll in terms of his own family relationship. And eventually, he was divorced from his first wife. And later on, he married Ana Maria, who was also a fighter and member of the PAIGC. Cabral survived numerous assassination attempts, many attempts on his life by the PIDE, which is the acronym for the brutal Portuguese secret police, which was responsible for assassinating many African liberation struggle leaders, including Eduardo Mondlane, Mondlane, who had been the first president of Frelimo. Frelimo was the acronym for the liberation movement in Mozambique. He was assassinated in 1968 by a letter bomb when he was in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. The bomb was sent by the Portuguese secret police. And of course, Mondlane was succeeded by Samora Machel, who later led Frelimo on to victory against the Portuguese. After surviving numerous assassination attempts, Cabral was ultimately killed on January 20, 1973. He was killed by Inocencio K, Inocencio, last name K, who had been one of his leading deputies and a commander of the PAIGC fighters at one point. Inocencio had been disciplined earlier on for theft and embezzlement of PAIGC resources. And Cabral was a believer in rehabilitation and giving people a chance to redeem themselves, and had forgiven Inocencio and allowed him to continue as a member of PAIGC, even after he was demoted. Inocencio cooperated with the PIDE, the Portuguese secret police, and other dissidents within PAIGC. Cabral was killed at 10:30 p.m. after he had come home from a reception from the Polish embassy in Guinea, Conakry. After he finished parking his car and he and his wife, Ana Maria, emerged, they were confronted by several armed dissidents. And they wanted to kidnap Cabral, perhaps deliver him to the Portuguese in Cape Verde, or take him to a ship in international waters, a Portuguese ship. Cabral refused to go with these assailants, and Inocencio shot Cabral. Even after he was shot, according to his wife, he was still speaking and trying to reason with these dissidents, and said, in a movement such as ours, when there is any contradiction, we have to resort it by communication, by discussion, by debate. And Inocencio then ordered his accomplices to finish off Cabral, who was then exterminated with machine guns. and his wife was kidnapped and taken to other dissidents where she was imprisoned. But at the end of the day, the security forces of Guinea-Conakry was able to overcome and arrest all these dissidents. And ultimately, Inocencio Ka and his co-conspirators were executed by firing squad. Cabral's memorial service occurred at the September 28 Stadium, 25,000 capacity September 28 Stadium in Conakry, where dignitaries came from all over the world to memorialize Amilcar Cabral. And it's so ironic that the previous year, Cabral had eulogized Kwame Nkrumah in 1972 in that same stadium. And the eulogy is brief but compelling and is available online. I think it's available on YouTube as well. And he had said Nkrumah had been betrayed. The speech he delivered was called The Cancer of Betrayal. And how ironic that Cabral should also become a victim of the cancer of betrayal. But his assassination did not derail the independence struggle, which continued. The independence struggle in Guinea Bissau, in Mozambique, in Angola, had worn down the Portuguese regime. In terms of Guinea Bissau itself, in September 1973, the PAIGC unilaterally declared independence of Guinea Bissau. And because the Portuguese Empire had taken such devastating losses in terms of manpower and soldiers and resources diverted from the budget to fight these colonial wars, in April 1974, the military in Portugal overthrew the new state dictatorship. And thereafter, the other Portuguese colonies in Africa also declared their independence. But the loss of Cabral was devastating. Cabral's vision was to go beyond just flag independence, and he spoke about that. He said flag independence was the easy part. The hard part would be transforming the country, a socio-economic revolution. And his philosophy was based on socialism. And he also believed in a unified Guinea-Bissau and Cape Verde. Today, in the 21st century, these are two separate countries. Guinea-Bissau happens to be one of the most unstable countries in Africa today. It has a reputation of being a narco state where corrupt political military regimes have ruled for most of the years since it won its independence. And this, of course, is one of the legacies of the tragedy of the assassination of Amilcar Cabral, that the vision that he had has never and was not fulfilled in Guinea-Bissau. His brother became president after the country declared its independence, Luis Cabral. After some years, he was deposed by the military and sent in exile, where he lived for many years before returning to his country. He also has since passed away. So that is the legacy of Portuguese imperialism and colonialism in Guinea-Bissau. In terms of reference, I recommend return to the source, selected speeches of AMILCAR Cabral. I recommend AMILCAR Cabral, Nationalist and Pan-Africanist Revolutionary by Peter K. Mendy. Mendy is Mendy. I recommend a short documentary, A World in Action, The Struggle for the Independence of Guinea-Bissau and Cape Verde by Grenada Television Production. In next week's episode, we will look at Steve Biko. Steve Biko, a Pan-Africanist, South African, leader of the anti-apartheid resistance, and one of the founders of Black consciousness in South Africa, brutally murdered by the apartheid regime. He was a trained medical doctor, brutally murdered in 1977. Biko, had he lived, would have been a tremendously important leader in South Africa. And we will look at Biko's story in episode number 18 of African History Club. I thank you for joining me today and look forward to connecting next week. Stay strong, stay well, stay healthy.